Hotep. Hotep is a greeting that means peace in the ancient Kemetic language, and Mwalimu means teacher in Kiswahili and is equivalent to the English word professor. Once again, Hotep. My name is Mwalimu Melody Michere Van Putten, and this is a special edition of Mwalimu Dropping the Knowledge. As promised at the end of Season 3, from time to time, Mwalimu Dropping the Knowledge would offer special programming in the spirit of MDDK's 3 seasons of sharing lessons of empowerment and wisdom from our global history and culture. Good people, this is one of those times. With the gracious sponsorship of Channel 82, Citizens Uprooting Racism in Bermuda, and the Ashe University Community Bermuda, I am thrilled to bring you a short series of MDDK specials in preparation for an exciting and powerful film weekend. Entitled B1, this film has the provocative subtitle, When Will Black People Put Black People First? If you have been a regular viewer of this program, you know that I have presented that question with pointed instruction that we must do the inside work for the next level of outside change. Change is what B1 is all about. For the next couple weeks, Channel 82 and MDDK will feature sneak previews of the B1 film to get you ready for the B1 weekend with Atlanta filmmaker Dr. Rick Mathis. Dr. Mathis is coming to Bermuda on September 20th and 21st. More on how to get tickets to what will be an exhilarating weekend at the end of the show. But a little more about this powerful film. Dr. Rick Mathis and Dr. Boyce Watkins surveyed 1 million Black folks in the United States to determine what are the major impediments to our progress today. The areas the film identifies as problematic are not only applicable to African Americans, but to us also here in Bermuda. This film not only identifies areas we must address and correct, but invites us to examine the solutions that will turn our community around in ways that only we can do. Dubbed The Code, B1 mandates that we create a code of conduct for our behavior. That is, our way of moving in the world, including how we think, what we think about, and deliberately begin to live by this code to our communal benefit. As the United States is now fully engaged in what will be the epic election cycle of 2024, the B1 team is also fully engaged in election strategies because the empowerment of our people is on the line. Having a serious team of committed Black people to be constantly engaged with the lessons of history and what we need to do today is what we need here in Bermuda. In initiating a series of podcasts to prepare African Americans for the election at hand, the discussion and questions to be answered are twofold. What is the Black agenda, and how do we hold our leaders accountable? These are questions people of African descent must ask globally and then act locally, including right here in Bermuda. As we take a look at the B1 podcast intro, you will also see some of the phenomenal activists, thinkers, and leaders who are featured in the B1 film coming to Bermuda in a short few weeks. Let's take a look.
I'm Dr. George C. Fraser. Did you know that it will take 228 years for Black families to amass the same wealth as white families? This striking reality is a fundamental truth we must address, regardless of who the president is. If we don't get on code and put black people first, we will always remain at the bottom of America's agenda forever. Vicki Dillard and Dr. Rick Mathis presents B1, the podcast series, where we bring the voices of black leaders, thinkers, and change makers to the forefront. This is a conversation about being on code. What does it mean to be on code and put black first? Being on code means being sensitive to what the group needs to survive and thrive, and putting those needs first and foremost before one's personal needs. It's our birthright to have prosperity. But if we can't get on code, we sentence our unborn seeds to a continued life of servitude. It's time we vote with our dollars and buy the candidate that supports a black agenda. And we must hold their feet to the fire. This podcast is a rally cry for our community to prioritize our people, our progress, and our prosperity. We're all we got, but we're all we need. For years, despite our sacrifices and contributions to build America, we remain at the bottom of most economic categories. This isn't about race. It's about righting a wrong that we've endured over 400 years. This 6-part series will explore powerful stories, actionable strategies, and inspiring movements designed to uplift and empower our community. It's more than just a podcast. It's a movement inspired by B1, the movie, which features a custom curriculum that you can share with your family and friends. Together, we can redefine our future and ensure that we remain at the top of our agenda. Join us on this journey to transform black empowerment from a dream into a reality. Let's get on code and put black first, now and forever. It's time to be one.
Hotep, we're back with a special 3-part and Wally Moo Dropping the Knowledge series, getting us ready for the Bermuda premiere of Rick Mathis's film, B1. When will black people put black people first? You can watch his interview and clips from the film on Mondays at 8 p.m., September 2nd, 9th, and 16th as we get ready for the weekend of the 20th and 21st at the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute for the B1 weekend featuring the film and the filmmaker. You won't want to miss it.
I'm bringing the conversation about being on code, what it means to be on code. Let's sit down, have a conversation, and pull back the layers. As I talked about earlier, I offered 3 solutions. One being accountability, the next being vibing with your tribe, and the next being what real money is. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have a conversation around those 3 things and around the movie B1.
Akwaba, welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is the first of a special 3-part and Wally Moo Dropping the Knowledge series on the film B1. When will black people put black people first? This impactful film and its filmmaker, Dr. Rick Mathis, is coming to Bermuda for a powerful weekend of screening, discussion, and community strategy sessions for our progress right here in Bermuda. I was introduced to the filmmaker and the film by one of my mentees in Philadelphia, who wrote me and said I absolutely had to check it out. He was absolutely correct. For viewers who regularly watched and Wally Moo Dropping the Knowledge, you will note that what is being said and advocated for in the B1 film is what this program has been about for 3 seasons. Like MDDK, B1 is African-centered and aligned with my training as an educator and Africologist and activist working in our communities to empower them. One of the things that most impressed me about this film is the idea I continually return to in season 2 and 3 of MDDK. We will not truly progress to the next level until we fully understand and embrace our connections to each other, our history, our ancestors, and our very selves. Our destiny, that is, our healing and growth, is wrapped up in each other. In the introduction, B1 insists that we need our own code of conduct, a code that cultivates love, respect, and unity with conduct that honors our ancestors. So, without further ado, let us watch the introduction to B1.
For years, black people have been taught to put other races first. But how would our community look when we establish a code of conduct that puts black people first?
Your family is your natural economic gang, and everybody should be affiliated. There should be a code of conduct. Everybody has to be on the same page. If you cannot get everybody on the same code, then you cannot win.
All races have an unspoken code of conduct, from Chinese to Japanese, to Mexican to European. Even the KKK has a code of conduct that they operate under.
They raise money for Kyle Rittenhouse. They raise money for George Zimmerman. They stuck to their code to ensure that, hey, I got you. If we're following the rules of the system, we're already off code. The system was never designed nor set up for us to be successful.
What is it going to take for black people to establish a code of conduct that puts black people first?
No Chinese person, no Latino, no Arab, no Jew, no white man has ever had to be asked such a question.
The first thing that we have to have is a code, and that code has to be a patronymic code because we are black. And if we look at the Constitution, that is a patronymic code that we can follow but not actually use because that's someone else's code of conduct and code of building wealth and prosperity that is able to be passed through an heirship for generations and for perpetuity.
But 99% of all the blacks in the country, whether they got an education from college or not, they don't know what the Constitution is all about. The Constitution was the first affirmative action plan in the United States, and it was written strictly and solely for white folk. That's why in the Constitution, 1 up to 12 is for white people. In those 12 amendments, you'll hear him talking about, he'll be talking about things like using very broad and ambiguous terms so that black folk can never figure out what the Constitution was about.
But what if we established a black constitution that puts black people first and is built on the principles of love, respect, and unity?
If black people put black people first, then we will take the planet back. That's the fact.
We have already survived the Middle Passage. We have survived the crack epidemic. We have survived mass incarceration. We have survived all type of experiments. And here we are still standing. Being black is being resilient. That is the code. It's embedded in our DNA.
Like that's the blood that's in your veins. When you know that, and you know Mansa Musa was the richest person ever. When you understand that, and you understand where you come from, and you understand that anything is possible, you will understand that abundance is your birthright, right? Stop resisting you're resisting your greatness. Stop resisting your greatness. You great. And once you understand that, and you understand your greatness, right? I am greatness on display.
We are giants who are waking up to our greatness. We are giants who are coming in to how powerful we are. And the reality is, because we are in some ways slumbering giants that are waking up to ourselves, waking up to our greatness, waking up to our power, waking up to what we are here to do. But I'm here to tell you that there's more inside of you, and that there's something in you that's ready to come out for the world. And when it does, the world will never be the same. You are the answer to someone's prayer.
So this is the rise to wake up to our power. We're not disempowering anybody by being who we are. The whole world needs black power. And as long as black power is suffering, then everybody gonna be suffering. They think they're gonna steal from us, rob from us, beat us down, chain us, and they not gonna suffer from that.
You got to push forward for the sake of the ancestors who did it for you, and they couldn't even see what the future could possibly be.
What you got to remember is that when your mother and father gave birth to you, they gave birth to themselves. And when your grandparents gave birth to your mother and father, they gave birth to themselves. And when your great-parents gave birth to your grandparents, they gave birth to themselves.
In order to be born, you needed 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, 32 third great-grandparents.
The way you bring it out of yourself is to learn how to remember.
64 fourth great-grandparents, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048. For you to be born today from 12 previous generations, you needed a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years.
So you, the individual, is the combination of millions of ancestors, millions of ideas, millions of concepts, millions of thoughts, all embedded in your DNA, in your cell.
Think for a moment. How many struggles, how many battles, how many difficulties, how much sadness, how much happiness, how many love stories, how many expressions of hope for the future did your ancestors have to undergo for you to exist in this present moment?
The way you bring it out of yourself is to learn how to remember. And one of the ways to learn how to remember is to have an ancestral altar where you go and have conversation with that part of you that lived yesterday. Because those ancestors, that was you yesterday. Your children, that is you tomorrow.
Hotep, we're back with a special 3-part Mwalimu Dropping the Knowledge series, getting us ready for the Bermuda premiere of Rick Mathis's film, B1. When will Black people put Black people first? You can watch his interview and clips from the film on Mondays at 8 p.m., September 2nd, 9th, and 16th, as we get ready for the weekend of the 20th and 21st at the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute for the B1 weekend, featuring the film and the filmmaker. You won't want to miss it.
I'm bringing the conversation about being on code, what it means to be on code. Let's sit down, have a conversation, and pull back the layers. As I talked about earlier, I offer 3 solutions. One being accountability, the next being vibing with your tribe, and the next being what real money is.
Akwaba, welcome back. B1 promotes a code that helps us to remember and understand who we really are, a people who are indeed connected to one another and whose healing, growth, and progress is communally tied together. Good people, having returned to Bermuda from a 2-week trip to Ghana, West Africa, fully immersed in the culture, history, and conducting community service through Ashe Club Ghana, I can tell you that visiting the motherland is indeed an experience of connectedness. From seeing children, adults, and elders who not only look like you, but remind you of somebody you know, to being reminded that despite the atrocities of enslavement and colonialism, we are unbelievably resilient, hardy, resourceful, grateful, and a joyful people. The ASHE Day of Community Service was simply marvelous. Imagine hundreds of children at 3 primary schools literally cheering to receive our gifts of colorful backpacks filled with school supplies, when our children would roll their eyes and barely acknowledge a gift of school supplies with a thank you. Let me shout out the ASHE family, who generously donated school supplies and hygiene items, as well as the dozen members of the community who accompanied me on the journey to Ghana 2024. There is no doubt we are indeed connected. The idea of connectedness cannot be overstated, as that is where our strength lies as a people. Our strength will only be fully actualized with our desire and actions to reconnect to each other for the purpose of unity. Friends, there is so much for us to learn, not only from our African kinfolk, but from the serious work of honestly contemplating our current circumstances here and now. That truth is what we must confront in order to grow in purpose, self-reliance, and self-determination. Our connectedness and the sacred responsibility to weave ourselves to ourselves is a work that only we can do. Next week, we will take another sneak peek at this powerful film and hear from the filmmaker himself, Dr. Rick Mathis. You will not want to miss it or the weekend event on September 20th and 21st at the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute. Tickets are $25 for students, with some scholarships available, and $40 for adults. They can be purchased online at PTix or in person by contacting Curb or yours truly. As I often say, the work of connection is our inside work for the next level of outside change. It is an action item that we must make happen for us to put Black people first. Or, poetically speaking, we are connected. We are connected, and the connections abound. Our culture, vibrant, life-affirming, beautiful, connects us aesthetically, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Drums, music, art, dance, beauty, and fashion moves us. But beauty is as beauty does. And the actions of fearless, courageous, and our visionary ancestors have inspired, motivated, and moved our people to action in our own behalf. Action needed now more than ever. We are connected, and the connections abound. Our history, ancient, glorious, intellectual, triumphant, connects the genius stored in our DNA. We are a brilliant people, having created the literal foundations of civilization, from agriculture to medicine, establishing ethical standards, the first universities, science, and religious systems, not to mention the aesthetic beauty of our jewelry, textiles, pyramids, and architectural wonders that still stand today. We are connected, and the connections abound. Our history connects us, painful, struggleful, perseverance-laden, with moments of victory. We are connected from the motherland to the diaspora, a connection that we must reweave in the 21st century, understanding ourselves as one people, beyond nationality, individualism, and religious diversity. The unraveling of our connections was purposeful, deliberate, and necessary. How else do you create a slave mentality? It's chaos and confusion concerning our connection, our identity, place of origin, depth of kinship, division planted and used, colorism, religion, nationality, combined with Western values of individualism, materialism, consumerism. It took us off our path, the path of strength, wisdom, unification, and true liberation. But it is said, when you know better, you do better. It's weaving time, reknitting ourselves to ourselves, understanding deeply our connections to one another, consciously connecting the dots, beginning at the beginning. Africa is in our DNA. It's in our walk. It's in our talk. Africa is our essence as a soulful people, resilient, extraordinary, deeply spiritual, with deep connections we must unearth and resurrect for strength, wisdom, healing, and vision. We are not just Bermudian, Jamaican, Barbadian, or Bermudian. We are not merely subjects of England, citizens of the United States, Brazil, or any other place where our ancestors toiled with no compensation, no dignity, no respect, no. We are African, connected by our ancestors' history, culture, genius, and legacy, connected by deep roots and strength. The first people to walk the earth, Africans, literally established the foundations of civilization, Africans. We are African. Know it, believe it, understand it, embrace it. Let us revive our connections, knowing the health, strength, wisdom, healing, and continuation of our people depends upon it. To quote Baba Asa, to be African or not to be. It's weaving time, reknitting ourselves to ourselves, understanding deeply our connections to each other. Weaving time is upon us. Ashe. I am Mwalimu Melody Misheri Van Putten, and I am dropping the knowledge. Ashe.
Truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity. 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 Justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity. Truth, justice, righteousness.